Good morning, students. So in our last class, we completed our HGP, that is Human Genome Project, and in this class, we will be dealing with the DNA fingerprinting. So this DNA fingerprinting, it was discovered by Sir Alec Jeffrey in 1977, and this DNA fingerprinting, it is used for regional screening of DNA. This was first used for the regional screening of DNA in 1983 in order to find out a rapist and killer of two girls in Leicestershire city. So this DNA fingerprinting, it was discovered by Sir Alex Jeffrey in 1977, and it is used for the regional screening of DNA. Now this DNA fingerprinting, it is based on a specific principle. Then what is the principle of DNA fingerprinting? So the principle behind DNA fingerprinting is the fact that 90% of DNA of a person is identical to other person. So the differences occurs only in 10% of DNA. So the principle behind this DNA fingerprinting is the fact that 90% of the DNA of a person is identical to the DNA of other person, and the differences occurs only in 10% of DNA. Now this 10% of DNA is unique to a person, and scientists make use of this 10% of DNA to find out any probability for the match or to distinguish between the individuals. Now these differences, that is 10% differences, these are usually present in non-coding regions. So as we know that human DNA contains both coding and non-coding regions, and these differences, they occurs in the non-coding regions of DNA. Now in case of human DNA, these differences which are present in non-coding regions, they are present in specific sequence of DNA. So there are specific sequence of nitrogenous base in DNA or nucleotides, that is near about 10 to 100 nucleotides. So in non-coding region, there are near about 10 to 100 nucleotides which are responsible for these differences, and that's why these nucleotides are used as a tool for the DNA fingerprinting. Now we will discuss the process of this DNA fingerprinting, that how this DNA printing occurs. So the non-coding region of our DNA, it contains highly repetitive sequences of nitrogenous bases which are randomly repeated in our genome, and they are found at many locus or many loci in our genome. Now the number of these sequences at a particular loci is unique to a person, and it is never identical to some other person. For example, if we take a sequence ACA, this is a sequence of nitrogenous bases which is repeated 40 times, at gene locus first or gene locus 1. So same sequence ACA, it is repeated 60 times at gene locus second in a person. So a sequence ACA, it is repeated 40 times at gene locus first, and it is repeated 60 times at gene locus second. Now this number of repeats, that is 40 times at locus 1 or loci 1 and 60 times at loci second, this is unique to a person, and it is never identical to some other person. That means the other person will not have the same sequence repeated same times at same loci. It will be some different number. So this number of these repeats, it will be different in different persons. That's why these number of repeats are identical to a person except the case of genetically identical twins. The genetically identical twins may have the same number of repeats at same gene loci. Now these repeats, they are known as short tandem repeats. They are known as short tandem repeats, that is STRs. And these STRs, they are responsible for the formation of satellite DNA. They are responsible for the formation of satellite DNA. Now the short sequences of these short tandem repeats, the short sequences of short tandem repeats, they are known as VNTRs. And this question is asked in your board exam. Its full form was asked. So short repeats of short tandem repeats are known as VNTRs, or the short sequences of STRs are known as VNTRs, that is variable number tandem repeats. And these variable number tandem repeats, they are the base of our DNA fingerprinting. Now these VNTRs, that is variable number tandem repeats, they are inherited in organism from their parents. So VNTRs are inherited from parents and they act as genetic markers. They act as genetic markers in personal identity test. Now the DNA which is used for DNA fingerprinting, it can be obtained from different sources. So what can be the source of this DNA which is used for DNA fingerprinting? The source can be the traces of blood. Traces of blood. It can be urine, it can be semen, it can be saliva, it can be vaginal swabs, or it can be the stains on clothes. Stains on clothes, or even a single hair can be used as a source of DNA for the DNA fingerprinting. Now come to the process of DNA fingerprinting. So we will study the process of DNA fingerprinting step by step through this diagram. So the DNA, it is during the DNA fingerprinting, the DNA is isolated from the source DNA, with the help of high speed refrigerated centrifugation process. So the DNA is isolated from the source with the help of high speed refrigerated centrifugation process. Now after the isolation of this DNA, after obtaining the DNA, if this DNA is present in poor quantity or it is present in less quantity, then the DNA that is STRs or simple tandem repeats, these STRs are amplified with the help of PCR process. Now after the amplification of DNA, this DNA, it is cleaved or it is broken down into fragments with the help of endonuclease enzyme. So this endonuclease enzyme, it breaks the DNA into small fragments. So here we have the DNA fragments. Now these fragments, they are of different size. There are some large in size, there are some smaller in size. So we have to isolate these DNA fragments on the basis of their length or size. So the next step is gel electrophoresis. So these DNA fragments are then isolated on the basis of their length with the help of gel electrophoresis process. As we know that our DNA is negatively charged molecule, so during gel electrophoresis, these are the wells in which our DNA sample is loaded, and after loading of DNA sample, when the electricity is applied, there we have two electrodes, that is negative electrode and positive electrode. We are loading the DNA towards negative electrode as the DNA is negatively charged, and from here it moves towards the positively charged electrode. So when the DNA is loaded in these wells, the DNA moves through the gel present in this processor, that is agarose gel, and when the DNA moves through this agarose gel, it moves on the basis of its length. So on the basis of its length, the DNA which is smaller in size or smaller in length, it moves faster and further through the gel, and the DNA which is larger in size, it remains behind. So the smaller DNA move to in faster speeds towards the positive electrode, and the larger DNA strand remains behind. So on the basis of length, this gel electrophoresis, it separates or it isolates the DNA fragments. Now after the isolation of DNA fragments, the double-stranded DNA strands, we have the DNA like this, that is 2 strands of DNA. So after isolation of DNA fragments, these 2 strands of DNA are separated with the help of the alkaline treatment. So in next step, after the isolation through gel electrophoresis, the 2 strands of DNA are separated from each other on the through the alkali treatment, and after alkali treatment, the Southern blotting process is carried out. So that after gel electrophoresis, the next step is Southern blotting. Now during Southern blotting process, a nylon the DNA is isolated on the agarose gel. It is copied on the nylon nitrocellulose membrane. So during this process, first we put a support at the bottom. On this support, a Wurtzmann paper is put, and on this Wurtzmann paper, the gel, that is our agarose gel, it is put, and on agarose gel, the nylon nitrocellulose membrane is kept. Now on this nylon nitrocellulose membrane, again the Wurtzmann paper is kept, and then we put a weight over it. So what happens? The DNA isolated or the DNA fragments which are present on this agarose gel, they get copied on the nylon nitrocellulose membrane, and this process of copying the DNA fragments which are isolated through gel electrophoresis on nylon nitrocellulose membrane, it is known as Southern blotting. Now after the Southern blotting process, the hybridization is carried out. So during hybridization, certain sequences which have the repeated sequences of nitrogenous bases are added in this process, and these sequences are radioactive and they are known as probes. These probes, they have their complementary nitrogenous bases on the VNTRs or on these DNA fragments. So during hybridization, the radioactive probes are added in the process. These radioactive probes have the repeated sequence of nitrogenous bases whose complementary nitrogenous bases are present on the VNTRs, which are copied on the nylon nitrocellulose membrane. So these DNA probes, they are added on nylon nitrocellulose membrane, and these DNA probes, they bound to their complementary nitrogenous bases which are present on nylon nitrocellulose membrane. Now after hybridization, there are certain DNA probes which remains unbound, and these unbound DNA probes, they are removed through washing by water. So unbound DNA probes are removed through washing by water. Now after hybridization, the autoradiography is carried out. During autoradiography, the nylon nitrocellulose membrane, it is exposed to X-rays in order to prepare the X-ray film. So during autoradiography, the nylon nitrocellulose membrane, it is exposed to X-rays in order to prepare a X-ray film, and this X-ray film shows the position where the VNTRs or the DNA fragments bound to the radioactive DNA, and the location of position where the DNA probes bounds to the VNTRs or DNA fragments, it shows a dark band on the X-ray film. So it shows the dark band on X-ray film, and these dark bands are known as DNA fingerprints or the DNA profile. So What happened during DNA fingerprinting? First we obtained the DNA source. We isolated the DNA from the source through high speed refrigerator centrifugation process. Then this isolated DNA, if obtained in poor quality or in less amount, it is amplified with the help of PCR. Then this isolated and amplified DNA, it is broken down into small pieces with the help of endonuclease enzyme. The DNA fragments are then isolated on the basis of their length through aerosol electrophoresis. Then after isolation, the isolated DNA present on this aerosol, it is copied on a nylon nitrocellulose membrane. That process is known as blotting or southern blotting. After southern blotting, the radioactive DNA probes are added on nylon nitrocellulose membrane. These radioactive DNA probes have their complementary nitrogenous bases on the VNTRs or DNA fragments, so they bound to their complementary VNTRs. The unbound DNA probes are removed through water wash, and after that, this process is known as hybridization. And after hybridization, the nylon nitrocellulose membrane, it is exposed to X-rays in order to prepare a X-ray film, and this X-ray film shows the position or the location where the DNA probe bound to the DNA fragments or VNTRs, and the region where DNA probe bound to VNTRs or DNA fragments, it shows a dark band, and these dark bands, they are known as DNA fingerprints or DNA profile. Now come to the applications of this DNA fingerprinting. So this DNA fingerprinting, it have been used for identification of criminals. So the criminal cases have been solved by using this DNA fingerprinting. For example, there are some if a person have committed a crime, okay, and after the crime have performed, the CBI team or the department related to police, they have obtained certain blood samples or the source of DNA from that location where the crime have occurred. Then if for that crime 3 persons are suspected, but out of these 3 persons we don't know that which person is the original criminal. So from these 3 persons the blood is taken out, and then DNA fingerprinting is performed, and the DNA fingerprints of these 3 persons, they are matched to the DNA fingerprint of the DNA which is obtained from the site of where the crime have performed. So during this identification of criminals, suppose this is the sample DNA that is obtained from crime site, and these A, B, C are the 3 suspected persons for this crime. So the DNA fingerprints of that sample which is obtained from crime site, it is matched with the DNA fingerprints of these 3 people. If we match the DNA fingerprints, then the first DNA fingerprint is here. A do not have this fingerprint, but B have the DNA fingerprint. C again do not have the DNA fingerprint. Again, this sample DNA fingerprinting is here. This do not have. Again, this do not have, but this this have, and this do not have. So again we see the third DNA fingerprint here. It do not have, and it again have. It do not have. So we are matching the DNA fingerprint of this sample with these 3 suspected peoples, and we found that the B person have the identical DNA fingerprints to that sample. That means that DNA that is obtained from that criminal site or crime site, that is of B person, and this is the B person who have done that crime. Now come to the second application of DNA fingerprinting, that is this DNA fingerprinting. It is also used to solve the maternity and paternity cases which are related to our parents. So suppose if there are 2 parents A and B which are claiming for a same child, then during DNA fingerprinting, the DNA fingerprints of that child, they are matched with the 2 parents. Suppose if A is the original parent of that child, then most of the DNA fingerprints of A will match the DNA fingerprints of that child, and if B is not the parent of that child, then most of the DNA fingerprints will not match with the DNA fingerprints of child. So in this way, this DNA fingerprinting, it is also used to solve the maternity and paternity cases. In this case, the DNA fingerprints of child, they are matched to the DNA fingerprints of both parents. And if A is the original parent, then the DNA fingerprints of A will match the DNA fingerprints of child, and B is the parent, then DNA fingerprints of B will match the DNA fingerprints of that child. Now, the third application of DNA fingerprinting is that this DNA fingerprinting, it is used to determine the extent of genetic variations, and it is also used to study inheritance patterns. It is also used to study the inheritance patterns. Now, the next application of DNA fingerprinting is that it is used to determine human lineage and lineage of other animals also through biological evolution. Now, next application of DNA fingerprinting is that DNA fingerprinting is also used for diagnosis of hereditary disorders such as Alzheimer's disease, such as sickle cell anemia, such as hemophilia. All these are diagnosed with the help of this DNA fingerprinting. Now, the next application of DNA fingerprinting is it is also used to find out a bacterial resistance for certain antibiotic. So, used to find out a bacterial resistance to a particular antibiotic. So, this was the last topic of our chapter. Here we have completed our chapter. In next video, we will start our next unit. Thank you, students.